Good afternoon and welcome to Good Journeys Tarot. I am Rosemary and you're watching 78 Cards in 78 Weeks, in which I go through and I try to create a card based on my life experience and the tarot. As always, I'm going to start by letting you know what's been going on here this week. One thing that has been going on here is that I have been trying to work on switching things up as we do at the beginning of the year. If you are not already part of the Good Journeys into Tarot Facebook group, click on the link in my link tree, which I've just posted, and join the group. You'll be the first to know when the deck is available to purchase, and also get to see the cards as I'm creating them, as well as be a part of some of the book content that I am creating. I am so lucky to have several people who contribute on a frequent basis, like Jennifer Ball, who is here today. Jenna from Jennifer Ball's Witch House, who I made a moderator today because last week I didn't have a moderator and we had a troll. So first in is the moderator. Got it? And so glad to have you there in the group, Jenna. So this week I did have some decks come in. A lot of decks came in. I actually had 4 decks come in, but I only ordered 3. So winning. I've been working with the tarot tiles for Sawyer's Path during December and decided I really just had to have the deck in my collection. And so I got the deluxe box set, which is the only way I could get it now, and decided if I was going to do that, then I had to get the transitions deck so I could work with that, because they definitely have a different feel depending on whether they are just the red sketch or they are the full color. And Jamie is just so wonderful. She sent me the Out of Hand, which is the first deck I've ever been gifted. So very excited about that. And we'll definitely be holding on to this for a long time. If you want to see these cards, I am reading with it over on Instagram this week. So check that out. All right. Today's guest probably doesn't need an introduction for a lot of you, but there we go. I'm having banner malfunctions. But she is someone I met at Northwest Tarot Symposium. She is the tarot reading space pirate chick with unicorn tendencies. Jen Sankey is here with us. Welcome, Jen.
Hi.
And she is Stardust Wanderer Tarot almost everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
She's got her brand out there like I do. Everywhere I am Good Journeys Tarot. If you see anything else with my face that's not Good Journeys Tarot, it's probably not me.
Same, but Stardust.
Right, yes. She is an author. She is the Instagram sorceress for the Cartomancer magazine, and a professional tarot reader, influencer, and witch. I always picture her in the hat, which was the image that she sent me for the live today. So glad that you could be here with us.
Yeah, thanks for
looking forward
having
to
us.
seeing you again this week at StarCon, where you're going to be presenting. I enjoyed your class at Newt's, where you talked about play and tarot. And I brought all those back with me with the idea that eventually I'm hoping to get back out in public and do some tarot meetups and whatnot, to do some of those with some people. So
yeah, that'd be fun.
Well, the card that we are working on this week is the Ace of Cups. And I'm going to start by reading what Waite had to say about it. He said, this is the house of the true heart, joy, content, abode, nourishment, abundance, fertility. So lots of things there that we often would associate with water to begin with. But this is just that fountain, as it were, of water.
Right.
And I like to look at different images from different decks to get the ideas of different ideas from people, because different people see cards in different ways based on their life experiences.
Right.
And the first couple that I have are actually Smith-Waite inspired. And so for the This Might Hurt, I don't know why I'm so nervous today. It usually goes much smoother than this, but
Oh, stop. You're fine.
so in the This Might Hurt, they replaced our chalice with a teacup, which we often associate with the intuitive community, and to make it a little more modern, but we still have all of the other aspects of it there, really, which is quite lovely. And then I wanted to talk about the Lost Hollow Tarot. Are you familiar with this deck?
I am. Yes.
Yes. So in this one, what I really liked about it was that the lotus was actually the cup, part of the cup.
Yeah. That's
But it also has this very interesting feel to it because the water is red. It almost looks like blood, which takes me to something that Rachel Pollack points out in her book about this card in the Golden Dawn tradition, is that, it's based on Christian mysticism. And so there's this idea that you have the dove dipping the wafer of communion into the wine. So the blood of Christ coming down to wash us all clean, so to speak, that spiritual awakening kind of moment. But definitely highly Christianized imagery in the Smith-Waite. And I love seeing how others will interpret that.
Interesting.
Do you have any favorite cards that you want to share with us?
I did pull some because, it's fun to do that. The first one I have is from the Boo Tarot, and it is just really stinking adorable, this whole deck. But, it's like, and it has a little cauldron, like just her little cauldron, and it's got little hearts all over it, and it's just so cute. So I do love this deck. And look at the back is so nice too. It's all like hologram, and that one's super cute. Then we're going super drastic because I have the David Bowie tarot, and for symbolism, he is all about, and he did help create this deck. So his elements of just, he did a lot. He worked a lot with just different types of mysticism that were not mainstream, because that's how he is. Everything was different. So I always just think this one is very interesting because you can see it does have some sacred geometry going on. It's very light, and I've got a glare, and it does have in here. So there's so much going on with this card. There's just so much happening. So that one I just, always like. But let's see. In this deck, this was my new deck for the month, for the week. I got the Phantom Wise Tarot. So I just opened it, and this is from Erin Morganson, and she wrote The Night Circus. If you ever read that book, if you haven't, read it. It's a fantastic book. It's one of my favorites. But hers is pretty. I just opened the deck right before I came on here, and I'm just like, all right, it's not super watery. It's kind of got this little swirly root thing in it. So, it doesn't scream emotion to me.
Right.
So I'm like, all right, we're going through all the different ones. I'm like, let's look at a little bit of everything.
There are a lot of decks that will do that. They'll just have a cup, and it'll be pretty artwork, but it's not necessarily got that emotion.
It's not evoking emotion, right? So
there's definitely a variety of vessels that we see nowadays. Like you showed the cauldron, and we've looked at the teacup before, like here in the Slow Tarot. I do think this has a little bit of an emotional feel to it because of the flowers, but
definitely.
Then this is the Lightworkers deck by Grace Callis, and she will actually be here the week after StarCon. I met her last year at StarCon, and she has kind of an aperitif glass there in this one, and then, as I mentioned earlier, fountains are just a wonderful overflowing kind of element to the card. And here's the Numinous Tarot, which they use vials. And the thing I love about this, which I never really paid attention to till I was studying the aces, was the cork is popping out of the bottle. I mean, the
I was
water
just
is
gonna say, is
just
that like a cork? What is that? Yeah, that's
flowing out. Yeah, so the vial was corked, and it's just bursting forth with all of that spiritual and emotional energy.
yeah.
So,
Oh, that one's cool. That one's cool. Oh, yeah, and this one too, actually, I got from the Urban Tarot, which is really interesting. And it's like kind of like a wine glass water, but I like how it has the angel here and the fountain. Like you said, we have that fountain element. And I did look it up and see, and this is the fountain from Central Park in New York City. So I thought that was really interesting too. So that one definitely, and there's like a lot of the water in the background. You have the angel, and you have I'm assuming that's like Twin Towers back there. But I thought that was a really interesting one.
yes, I have that deck, and that was one of the ones I put back because I had too many cards this week.
Well,
I
I
have like
kept taking them out, and I'm like, all right, I got enough. I got enough.
yes. So like this is another one that kind of took me by surprise. The message in the bottle
Yeah.
for the Ace of Vessels, but what the creator, who is Ari Weisner, wrote in the Little White Book, just really kind of sums up the cup, the Ace of Cups for me really well.
Mhm.
It's a love letter from the universe is drifting on the tide. Sweet words remind you that you are still invited to reconnect with the world around you, however distance you may feel. And that really resonated with me
Mhm.
right now because I am really starting to struggle with being cooped up. Like, I
Yeah.
love working from home, but I'd like to get out and see people,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
On
Right.
a social basis and do
Mhm.
things with people, because there's no one here but me and the cats and dog.
Right. Right.
So it's nice to interact with people. That's why I get so excited when I go to conferences now, because that's the one time I actually get to do things with people.
Right.
And
Right. No,
it's a lot of fun.
totally.
Yeah.
No, I love that. Yeah. Yeah, no, that one's interesting too. And I like that one, that card too, that you just had up because, for me, the aces too it's all about the possibility. Like all those possibilities are there. Like, is someone going to pluck out that and open that and see what that love letter is? Like, and it can't happen until you take that action. So it's like the aces are all just possibility, but it's up to you to take that action. So that card kind of really speaks to that too.
Absolutely.
So I like
Potential.
that. Mhm.
Potential is a word for the aces for sure.
Yeah, no,
Um, so I do love the kind of ornate cups that we see in the Marseille, even though we don't get that same emotional energy
right.
from them. There's still that like extravagance that
Yeah, it's
that
just like
we kind of
grandiose.
feel, right? Which, with the aces basically encompassing, the energy of their entire suit, that kind of feels right
Yeah,
too.
it's like the yes card, if you were drawing it as a yes, no, and you pulled an ace, it's pretty much a yes. So
Mhm.
I definitely get that. And I pulled this one too from the Tarot of the Divine. And this deck I really like too because each of them, they come from different stories and stuff like that. So I actually did bookmark it. So this one comes from Jack and the Beanstalk. So I thought that was really an interesting. I'm trying to see if it really says. It says the origin of this gift may be unexpected, like magical beans, but through nourishment and support, the benefits could be miraculous. It's time to make dreams a reality. So again, it's that possibility. You don't know what it is until you start diving in, right?
Absolutely. So one thing that's interesting in some cards for me is, normally we'll see just a cup, or we'll see a hand holding out a cup,
Mhm.
that kind of mysterious hand that we don't know what it belongs
Right.
to, where it's
That
coming
really big hand that's
from.
just there.
But there are a number of decks nowadays, like the Light Seers and the Salsarabito, that have a person holding a bowl.
Yeah.
And here's the Salsarabito, and
Yes. That
the
is actually
water
one of my favorite
overflowing.
decks. I love that deck.
Yeah, which gives a
Mhm.
different kind of sweet kind of energy to it. And here we even see the heart, which a lot of
Mhm.
people associate this card with love, because it's all about emotions and about maybe an initial relationship kind of thing, which
Right.
is one of the reasons I've been very adamant about why I did the card I did the way I did.
Mhm.
Um, and it comes across even like here in the I gotta remember which one this is. This is the Penumbra. I have both of her decks out, and I had to look at the back to remember which was which.
Right.
But
No, it's
she worked in that heart, that love energy, but then
very.
there's also the fish that relates to water,
Mhm.
and yeah, I love this image. It
Yeah.
doesn't have any of that kind of spiritual connotation or religious connotation that you get with the Smith Waite, but you see that overflowing abundance there,
Right.
and all in the lily white. It's a
Yeah, and
gorgeous
it's like
deck.
kind of like watercolor. It's very soft and like gentle. So
Mhm.
that's really cool. And actually, I pulled a card too from the Wandering Moon Tarot, and it took me a minute to figure out which one was cups. Not gonna lie, but so they did moons as cups. So moon's emotion. I get that, right? So I thought that was very interesting, very unique. I do think that if you are a beginner reader, might, and it might be a little bit hard. So, I just thought it was kind of interesting, honestly. So
Yeah.
I had the deck, and it's one of those things like, you have we all have, a few decks running around. And I hadn't looked at it in a while, and I didn't realize that that was what the cups were. So when I pulled it, I was like, but it almost kind of looks like I kind of feel like these almost look like hands in a way, like kind of holding the moon, like in a weird, really probably only in my brain way, but I just thought it was
I
interesting.
totally saw that. And this is a good segue to my least favorite Ace of Cups in my
Okay.
collection, which oddly enough comes from the deck that usually my favorite cards come from. And this
Oh,
is
okay.
Limestone and Earth Flash. It's the Blood Moon. And I found that kind of a difficult image for what I
Yeah.
associate with the Ace of Cups a little bit. And I had mentioned this when I went through this deck as well, but
Mhm.
I always thought the Ten of Cups looked more like the Ace, right? I mean, I get the
It does.
whole
If I
cup
were
being
flipping
full.
through really quick, I totally would have picked that one, the cup one. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, so, but I get the
Interesting.
whole idea of the cup being full, you've
Yeah.
the Ten of Cups being, the cup is full, you've got all the
Right,
emotional
right.
things going on, but yeah, it struck me as a little odd.
Yeah,
I
that would throw
understand
me
what they
off.
were doing, but
Right.
it was still a little bit weird.
Right, right. Yeah, no, I mean, I think for me that Wandering Moon one, like I was just really like, okay.
Yeah. So everybody's dying to get their hands on the Boo Tarot.
Okay.
Apparently, that's the deck that they
Yes.
love.
No, yeah, no, I did a little splurge on that one, and it took quite a while to get, and it was kind of I just hit it at the right time because I don't even know if it's for sale right now. I'm not even sure, but that one was a little bit tough to get.
Yeah. Well, and that's actually how I ended up with the Sawyer's Path that I showed
Mhm.
earlier
Yeah,
on was because she only had 7 left.
right.
And I had never gotten it, and I was like, "Okay, I finally just have to break down do
I
this
know,
thing
you
before
gotta
she's
do
out."
it.
Right, yeah, because she doesn't intend on reprinting it from what
Right.
I understand, so
Yeah, I don't think so
yeah.
either.
So, did you pull any other cards that were
I think
interesting or
that
that you
was
wanted to
it.
share?
I think that's
Okay.
all I had. Yeah.
So, I have one more,
All
and what's odd is that while my favorite deck, I didn't like the card in. One of the decks I rarely pull from actually is my favorite Ace of Cups
right.
or Ace of
Oh,
Vessels in this case, and that is the Waters of Life from the Wild Wood.
yeah.
Because it's its own system, I don't typically pull from it often in this project,
Yeah.
but some of them just really resonate with me. I
Mhm.
guess because I grew up in the country on a river, that this just kind of spoke to me. I'm used to seeing the
Right.
creatures around the water and
Mhm. No,
watching
that
the
makes
water
sense.
flow by, and it just felt like the right energy to me
Yeah.
for an Ace of Cups that wasn't simply a overflowing
An overflow.
cup, but
Yeah. No,
it
that
was
is a
really good.
nice card.
So I do really love it, and
Yeah.
I wanted to just read real quick what they said in here about it because it was really. Here we go. This is the waters of life retain the ancient wisdom ready for reawakening. So that idea of the spiritual awakening, but
Mhm.
from your ancestors, which is how I've always
Right.
associated the river. We all grew up there.
Mhm.
Um, the moonlit pool of the universal soul retains all memory, ready to renew the inspired quest. And there's that moon again, right? That you
Right.
were talking about in that card, and then in the bone stone they use the moon. But I really hadn't thought about that. The moon being a part of the card, and now I'm rethinking my image. And I'll explain why when I tell the story behind my image in a little bit. Um,
Mhm.
so we've talked a little bit about some of the associations of the card. The Golden Dawn called it the root of the powers of water, and water we do associate with the emotions as well as the spiritual, and
Right.
some people with the creative.
Mhm.
Um, I had this conversation last week with Jamie because we were talking about the Queen of Cups,
Okay.
and how I do get the idea of inspiration coming from the cups, right? Because it's tied to
Yeah.
emotions, and emotion is heavily invested in your creations. But
Right.
I've always associated creativity with the wands.
Right. Yeah, with
So,
that action. Yeah.
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 How about you? How do you tend to associate creativity in the tarot?
I definitely think the wands have to do with it too. I think it's almost like the emotion, because even with the cups too, with the ace of cups, with the different streams, you can relate that to your senses, so it's heightening all those things so that you can tap into that creativity. And then like the wands is like the little fire underneath you to kind of get you going. So I do think that, they definitely, you can tap into each of the suits to really, harness your creativity and also kind of help you direct it. Because sometimes we have so many ideas and then we just don't know what to do with them all. And it can be
Absolutely.
cleansing, and the ace, the water is cleansing. So, and grounding as well. So, I think that it also can help you if you do get to that where you have all these ideas and you don't know what to do with them, or you're trying to direct your creativity, like going to that flow, like finding your flow and discovering that, and really just kind of narrowing it down, and just even using the water as grounding to help you find your flow.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. You've hinted at the idea of motivation there a little bit, and that brings to mind to me some of the shadow aspects of this card that came up in my reading. And one is that there's this need to reevaluate your motivations. Like
Mhm.
maybe you're in this for the wrong reasons.
Right.
The reason that it's not working out, that you're not getting that flow and that kind of overabundance that you tend to associate with this card. So I always ask this question because everybody doesn't, but do you read with reversals, or do you tend to look at both aspects of the cards when you see them come up, or how do you work with the shadow side of the tarot?
I do usually read reversals. I just always have.
Mhm.
So, excuse me. So that's I do. When I teach, I definitely don't say you have to do it. Like, kind of go with it and whatever feels right for you. And I do think, it really depends on what you want to do, but I always did, so I just do. It's like habit now.
So what are some of the ways that you would see this card in the reverse?
I think I would say probably like that lack of motivation. Also just really being kind of overwhelmed with emotion, and like, even like kind of what you were saying, like I need to look at this and see, why am I doing it? Like, what emotion is driving this and why is it driving this? And just really tapping into that part of things too. And I would also, and non-action and not taking action and just sitting there and waiting for something to happen and getting upset that nothing's happening. So again, it's like just like kind of seeing where your mindset is.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. The word superficial or superficiality kept coming up
Mhm.
in my reading for the shadow side of this card. which goes back to that like motivation, right? Like,
Right.
are we doing it for show? Or are we doing it to grow?
Yeah.
Which is an aspect of this card, that nourishment of our soul, as well as our emotions, so to speak. Our emotions tend to be very attached to our spiritual life.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and that was something I explored this week over on Instagram
Right.
with our daily card pulls. But let's look at what I ended up doing.
Okay.
So my first thought was, growing up on the river, that maybe the river flows into the cup and the cup overflows, and and then I began finding all kinds of things I didn't like about this card as completed my study of it, and
Yeah.
so I've updated it a bit along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I played with it with and without the koi, because I realized that koi would not be in the body of water that this is,
Right.
and and I'll get to that in a minute. But I finally decided I like the water flowing from above rather than the river,
Mm-hmm.
aesthetically, and that's the way it looks in a lot of cards these days. In fact, one of the cards I didn't show, if I can find it real quick, is one of my favorite versions of the Smith Way. There we go. Remove that. Is from the Curious Travels.
Mm-hmm.
And I just loved how that water flowed. And I thought, okay, that's actually
Yeah.
kind of cool. Maybe I can recreate
Yeah.
that idea. And so I did that. And then I was talking with people in my Good Journeys into Faith to Tarot Facebook group,
Mm-hmm.
and they were like, "Oh, but wouldn't blue be better?" And I'm like, "Yes, this is striking. This would make a lovely Ace of Cups." But it didn't speak to the story. And I'm going to share the story now. In the guidebook, I shared the stories behind each of these cards
Okay.
that happened in my life. And a lot of people look at the card and they immediately think about new love and romance and that kind of thing. And that's something that I really have only experienced once in my life. And oddly enough, it wasn't even with the person that I was engaged to briefly, but I immediately connected with someone, and it was really a love at first sight kind of thing. But we really connected, and we were together for quite a long time. And so that was kind of the moment I wanted to capture in this card, was when I felt completely happy and content emotionally, in a relationship. And so it's why I actually like the green ocean, because this happened in Panama City Beach, there on the
Um,
Gulf of Mexico. And the water is always clear with the white sand beneath that
yes.
shines green. And I actually played with the sky in different colors as well, with the different
Mhm.
colors of water. But I ended up asking one of my friends who goes regularly whether this reminded her more of Panama City Beach now, because it's been 20 some years since I've been there, or if this did. And she said, yeah, the blue sky with the green water is exactly that.
Oh, wow.
And as I thought more and more about it, I'm like, while that teacup with the sunflower really speaks to my brand,
Mhm.
it doesn't speak to that moment. And so I began playing with the shell, or a Kong,
Yeah.
which was partly inspired by the Pocket of Peers, which I had out somewhere to show, which is Arwen Lynch holding a conch shell up to her ear.
Yes.
And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, that is the perfect image for this story, because I actually wrote one poem in my life, which was for a poetry class. It was the only assignment I finished. I got an A on it, it's in a book of poetry in the Library of Congress, but I can't find the poem right this minute.
Yeah.
But I really want to include it in the book, because it's actually about a seashell and that relationship I
Mm.
was in,
Yeah.
which I was totally caught up in that semester following our meeting. And I ended up taking an extra semester in college because I was too busy being in love for that semester after the summer. And
Yeah, I
so
love that.
And so I had to pull that shell in, and I thought, well, it's kind of a plain image. What can I add to it that would be representative of that area? And we were constantly seeing pelicans, and so I played with different pelicans in different places, and
Mhm.
I think this is finally what it's going to look like. Though Tony, who loves to give me her thoughts, and sometimes I hear them one, two, or three times. She loved the fish. She loved the
Yeah.
fish. I'm like, but now that I think about it, I don't remember seeing fish in the water. It was just always so clear and pretty
Yeah.
um, there in the Gulf. The only fish I ever saw was like in a restaurant. Uh, but
Right.
I did play with the fish. But I could not get them in any arrangement that I ever liked. So right now, this is where I'm leaning.
All
With
right. Yeah, I like it.
to try and capture that moment in my life. Now you actually have not one but two decks that you're working on.
Yeah,
Is that right?
I have 2 decks in progress right now.
Yes, it confused me because last week I was thinking your deck was coming out from Llewellyn, and then I saw your Kickstarter and I was like, wait, I'm confused now.
Oh,
So
yeah.
tell us a little bit about what you have going on
Alright.
while I grab the cards for us to draw the next one.
All right. So the Kickstarter deck is my Stardust Wanderer Tarot. And that deck is I think we have like 14 cards left. So I plan on doing the Kickstarter going live in April. I'm still deciding exactly on the date. I wanted to pull some cards on it on the date that I wanted to do. So, definitely that's going to be coming up soon. I do post like 1 card a month. So you can look at my Instagram and see the ones that I've posted already. So this really is kind of like a story deck. The fool in the deck is Mina, and she is a space pirate and also finds out she is a demigoddess. So it is just kind of going through her fool's journey. Everybody she meets along the way. There are pirates in it, and all the pirates in the deck, they're all space pirates, but they're all real pirates. So there was a lot of pirate research done. Also gods and goddesses, and just all in the galaxy. And it's very kind of like a sci-fi type deck, and it's just come out beautiful. My artist Carol Phillips, she has just done an amazing job, and the detail that we have gotten down to it's amazing, and we're kind of in a really good flow right now. So that will be kickstarting in my link tree on my Instagram. You can find the pre-launch page for that, because I did start one. Yes, I know, Jonathan. Yes, thanks. And if you think someone will like it too, share it. Feel free to share. Also, I have a deck coming out with Llewellyn. That deck is called, at this point, Enchanted Forest Felines. And it's actually coming out so adorable. My artist is from Croatia. She's younger. This is her first deck, and she's doing such a great job. And that is really just about these magical kitties that were kind of done with humans and went into the forest and kind of created their own magical place to live with. And that actually was really inspired. I live on top of the mountain, and a lot of people dump their kitties on the mountain. And so I have a lot of feral stray cats around. And that's kind of where the idea came from. I'm like, all these little kitties, I want them to all be in their own little magical land where they're fed and they're happy and all of that. So that will probably be coming out, I'm going to say late 2025, 2026, depending on, because they take forever. And then the last thing I have going on is I'm writing a book for Llewellyn. And that's called Magical Manifesting with the Moon. So it's all about manifesting with the moon phases and how to do it.
Wonderful. A lot going on for you right
A
now.
lot, yeah.
Yeah. So I have 10 more cards left in my deck.
Yay.
And I'm actually just going to do it print on demand, because it really is kind of a personal deck. And but some people wanted a copy of it. And initially I thought I would try to find an artist to illustrate it when I had the funds. But everybody keeps saying, well, these are readable the way they are. And so I'll probably
Right.
just leave it and write the guidebook to go with it and start
Yeah.
another project because I have so many projects in my mind after Northwest Terror Symposium that
Yes, I
I really
understand
need
that.
to do them all. So if you will pick a number between 1 and 10, we'll find out what card Grace Callis is going to do with me in 2 weeks.
All right, let's pick number 7.
All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And it is the 6 of Swords.
Ooh, all right.
All right, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Yes, I have actually one major left and 2 cups,
Mm-hmm.
uh, 1 wand, and then the 3 pentacles and 3 swords. So because I've been doing them random,
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting to see what I finish first, whether it'll be the wands or the majors. But my luck, they will wait, and I'll be stuck with like one of each suit at the end.
Right, right, right.
I'm dying to see what a whole set looks like together. Of like
Yes.
a group of
No,
cards.
I know. I just want to see them all printed out. Like where all of our majors are done. We're pretty much just working on the pentacles, and I think we have like one random here and there. But so I just send them to her. She sends me sketches, and then she just pops out cards at me, and I approve them, and we go from there. So I know. I just want to see it all together.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for popping in today and sharing with us about the Ace of Cups and what you're working on. And I look forward to seeing you again this weekend.
Yes, no, this was
Yay.
fun. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yes. All right. Well, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody, and then I'll see you backstage. So, guys, again, there will not be a broadcast next week, but I will probably do a little video for you like I normally do to keep your mind on 78 cards in 78 weeks while I'm away. Until next time, everyone, good journeys.